go ahead and get started with the episode. So, we're going back in time, but not in the way that Marty McFly would. No, we're going back to the year 1980. I was born in 76, so I'm 4 years old. Imagine me in kindergarten during this story. Oh my god, this story takes place in Anaheim, California. I lived in Anaheim at the time. I may actually be a suspect for this story, little 4-year-old baby Jason. But we're going to go back in time. We don't need the Carpenter copter. We're already here. We're in Oregon. I'm not in California. So, we're just going to go back in time. We're going to borrow the DeLorean. We go back in time. 1980, May 28th. There's a woman named Dorothy Jane Scott. She has 3 names, so that means one of 2 things. She's either a victim or a serial killer. Whenever the news reports a middle name, that's usually what happens. Dorothy Jane Scott works at a head shop where they sell pipes and stuff like that. Paraphernalia, drug paraphernalia. And one of her coworkers, they're having a company meeting, and one of her coworkers goes, "Oh, God, my leg, and they're like, "What, is it a cramp? You need some calcium? You need some milk?" He's like, no, it's not a cramp, He got bit by a spider during a company meeting. That's when you know you work for a really crappy company. When you're sitting in the back of the company having a meeting, or in the front, or just walking through the door and a spider bites you. I've never gotten bitten by a bug, ever. Definitely not at work. But anyway, so he gets bit by a spider. I don't know why, I don't even know what type of spider. Oh, it was a black widow. Or, as I wrote in my notes, a black widen. Anyway, so it's 11 p.m. Now he's at the hospital. Dorothy Jane Scott and her friend and the spider bite victim go to the hospital. Now, first protocol when you get bit by a spider is the first thing they do is see if you can crawl on walls. And if you can't, all the doctors get really disappointed and they're like, dang it. Well, let's just treat him for venom then. He's not an actual Spider-Man. But anyway, so he gets treated for it, but it was his leg. He wasn't feeling really good. And Dorothy goes, you know what, I'll go get the car. I'll go out to the parking lot and get the car. I'll come up to the front of the hospital, and we'll all get in the car, we'll go home. And everyone's like, oh, that's a great idea, because my leg got bit. Spider might be nearby. So they don't want to get assaulted again. They see Dorothy walk out to the car, and then they're chit-chatting. The friends in the hospital are kind of like, hey, how's your leg? And he's like, what do you think? I've been in the hospital for my leg. She's like, oh yeah, I forgot. And then they see the car start to drive through the parking lot, and then it gets on the road and drives away. And they're like, what? That's weird. It's almost like when you're watching a zombie movie and the guy's like, here, give me the keys, I'll go out and get the car, and then he gets in the car and drives away, and the survivors are like, no, that was our last hope. But this was real, and it didn't involve zombies, just spider. A couple hours pass, and the friends are still sitting in the hospital, and now they're concerned. They're like, this was before the era of cell phones. They're thinking, when they first see her drive away, they're thinking, well, maybe she saw another spider and got panicked. But after 2 hours, they start to think, okay, that was really weird. That's not like Dorothy to just take off. She's supposed to pick us up. So they tell hospital security, they're like, hey, this is what happened. And then they call up her parents and say, is Dorothy home? Oh, no, she's not home. Because she just left us here stranded at this hospital, and we thought that was really weird. The next day, in an alleyway, her car is found on fire. She's not there. Cops automatically begin investigating it, and they're thinking, this is super bizarre. They get their first major lead. As they just start investigating it, they get word that she had been receiving harassing phone calls. And they weren't just like, show me your boobs. They weren't just like creepy pervert phone calls. They were phone calls describing what she was wearing, what she had done the previous day. There were stalker calls. And it wasn't, again, just, oh, you look nice in that blouse. I saw you touching cantaloupes yesterday. This is one of the quotes that she had told her friends that the caller had said. When I get you alone, I will cut you up into bits so no one will ever find you. Click. So these are, very, very threatening phone calls. And this was going on for weeks before she vanished. A newspaper starts doing an article, obviously. They're like, okay, we're going to cover the story. They get a phone call, a very threatening phone call to the newspaper. They're like, it might just be a prank caller because we get those, but we're going to tell the police. 2 weeks after she disappears, her mother gets a phone call. Mom picks up the phone. I got her. Click. Almost every Wednesday, the mom would get a phone call. And the phone call wouldn't come if Dorothy's dad was home. So whoever was making these phone calls knew when the mom was home alone. On a Wednesday, oddly enough. The phone calls would either say, "Is Dorothy home?" Click. Or, and I don't know the exact quote, but it was, "I have her prisoner, I'm holding her prisoner," or "I murdered her." So she would get these different phone calls. One teasing her, one saying that she was basically still alive, and then one saying that she was murdered. One time, the phone rang. This went on for quite a while. The phone rang. The dad picked up the phone. Instead, he happened to be home, and whoever was making the calls didn't know that. Stopped calling the house. Game was over. He wanted to harass the mom, but once the dad picked up, it ended. Now, obviously, the cops were trying to get a trace on the line, but the phone calls were so short. 4 years after she went missing, in the Anaheim Hills, a set of bones are found. Cops are like, well, we gotta identify the body, so they do dental records, and it comes back as Dorothy's body. After the bones are found, ring, ring, ring. Mom picks up the phone. "I killed her." Click. Phone call started up for a short time and then just petered off. Unsolved mystery. No one's ever been arrested for this. There's been a few suspects. One of them is there was a guy working in an auto shop across the street from the headshot. Now, to be fair, that's not an official suspect. When I was doing my research, someone on Reddit was saying, well, there was this auto shop next to it, and it could have been someone working there. But no one was ever arrested for it. No one was ever convicted for it. Totally unsolved murder. It's creepy, because that means that guy's still out there. And who knows, the next time your phone rings, you could be getting one of those calls. I can't imagine getting a call saying, "When I get you alone, I will cut you up into bits so no one will ever find you." If I got it now, I would automatically assume it was a LARP, that someone was messing with me. But just being a normal person moving about the world and getting a phone call like that would be quite chilling. And then for it to actually come true, creepy. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.